Good morning, my people. Thank you for coming back to another video. Apologize like always when I'm not putting out new content. I'm very busy with the dogs, very busy with my daughter. I'm just, I think I was watching the history of James Brown, but I was like, let me do a little content. Don't be lazy. It's the off time right now. You are looking at three puppies now. Right now they are 6 months. You can see that they're nice, well fed, and they are muscular, as naturally muscular. The breed is naturally muscular and athletic breed. I wanted to talk to you about a little bit about conditioning. A couple of people are asking me all the time about conditioning programs. How can you make a video of all explaining a conditioning program from beginning to end, including the feeding and this and that? I'm like, dude, most of you guys that are really asking for this aren't never going to be using it, are never going to follow through. Just be honest. The requirements needed to go through a keep, most people won't go through it, not even half of it. So when people ask me about that, I'm like, I'm just putting it out in the wing for nobody to hear it, or half of them to understand it. So I wanted to cover, I wanted to cover some conditioning issues, some conditioning here in this video. But I'm not sure how long it's going to be because she's my boss, so it depends on how long she's going to be okay with being like this. No. This is my dog giving licks, but the dogs lick her hands, and so I don't like them licking hands because she puts their hands in her mouth. So when I do allow them to lick, because I do want them to lick, I allow them to lick the top of the head, or the forearm, or a leg, because those are things that are not going to my daughter's not going to put in her mouth. And I do want the dogs to have a taste of their new boys, the little baby boys, a newborn that, not a newborn, she's 6 months, but someone that they need to respect. So I do make sure that they all smell her, lick her, because those are things that they should be done. I feel that they should be done because it's showing affection. The more they lick, the more they show affection. But anyway, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about Slatmill work. Slatmill work, people say things and just regurgitate what they hear, but really don't go through the process of actually analyzing what they say, researching why they say it. They just say it because it's been told by the old timers a time and throughout the years, throughout the history of the breed. And obviously, some of the things I'm gonna mention are historical, because they were done prior to me even being alive. And obviously, I'm not. Anything I say is not to make you think that I'm doing anything illegal. I'm here with my dogs. Obviously, these dogs are athletic dogs. I gotta make sure she's content. But anyway, this is not like I was saying. What I'm gonna say is all for educational purposes. Obviously, we need to continue exercising our dogs, making sure their energy is not at 100%, because a dog at 100% energy is going to be too much to handle for most people. The general public will not be able to handle an American People Terrier at 100% energy. So anyway, I wanted to talk to you about the Slatmill. I see time and time again, people forget how to use the Slatmill correctly for conditioning purposes. When I say conditioning purposes, there's different type of conditioning, but of course, but I'm talking about conditioning more towards the history, more towards the historical aspect of the breed. How people used to do it for the purpose of putting them I guess because we're talking about the history of dog fighting. At the time, yes, not only. Let's be clear, the Slatmill is not being used just by dog fighters. All the AKC working breeds, champions and winners, AKC, I repeat, AKC confirmation, they all use Slatmills. They'll all use some sort of a machine for them to run, to exercise, because this is a requirement for a dog that needs to be exercised a lot. And that is just an exercise machine, not a dog fighting machine. Obviously, dog fighters did use that machine and other, but just because you have a machine like that doesn't mean you're a dog fighter. Same as if you have guns, doesn't make you a criminal. Doesn't mean that you're going to rob or start a revolution just because you have a lot of guns in your house and the heavy like military level. Just because of that doesn't mean that you are a criminal or a violent offender or planning to take over the country or the government or whatnot. So let's be intelligent. I've had conversations with other people when in regular groups not related to dogs, not related to American People Terriers. A video in particular where I discuss pointing out that this dog attack was not pit bulls, but again, they still label them, include them in the pit bull statistics, and they were definitely not pit bulls. But anyway, let's go back to the Slatmill. People say don't use the Slatmill too much because it takes away the mouth. Okay, let me repeat that. People say that if you use the Slatmill too much, it takes away the mouth. And this is Tommy, and I'm sure most of you people that have these dogs are in the dogs know this saying. Probably have repeated it, but in reality, when the question is asked, how or why does the Slatmill take the mouth away? Most people won't really be able to tell you. They'll just assure you it takes it away. Now, I'm not contradicting that. I am not contradicting that it, in quote, end quote, takes the mouth away. But I am here to explain. This is nobody told me this. This is from me, my experience, my observation. I have a keen eye for these dogs. And I don't just say that because I'm selling dogs, because I don't. I have a keen eye because I've always had dogs since I could remember. And they were mutts. And mutts, there's no predictability. And excuse me, my daughter just keeping herself entertained while I bounce her. So anyway, the mouth. Let's talk about the mouth. You guys, and I'm giving you some time to discuss in your mind, and perhaps if you're talking to a fellow dog fancier, I call each other, all of us. I call you and I doggers. I don't use the word dog man, and actually you told Chico to say doggers. Yeah, and he has been, he learned from me a lot of the way he talks and some of the things he changed. He learned from me, but I do use the word dogger to represent 90% of the fraternity that has dogs, that feeds them in some sort of way. Dog man really for me is not something that I give myself or a person gives it himself. It's to me, in order for you to be a dog man, there has to be dog men, like historic recognized dog men that call you dog man and acknowledge you as a dog man. That's the only time you should be calling yourself a dog man. Otherwise, you're a dogger. And it's not an insult. It's a label that we are. We own, we feed, we condition, we have our dogs in activities. So we are doggers. It's kind of like active dogging kind of thing, dogger. Okay, so feel free to use it. I think that we should all be using that instead of dogman. Dogman is more like a professor, a university professor, and not a high school teacher. So dogger is more like a high school teacher could be, or an elementary school teacher, depending. We are at different levels of doggers. But definitely it's not a fancier. To me, a fancier is more of a person that doesn't have the breed, but really enjoys it, follows through with it, and whatnot. But anyway, how does the mouth, how does it weaken the mouth? Okay, For my observation, and perhaps here I'm leaving myself open. Maybe some wise ass is gonna say, "You freaking go totally wrong, man. You don't know shit." Okay, and that's fine. That's fine. That's fine. I have no worries, no concerns about being wrong. I am just providing what my view of things are, and from my experience, from my thought process. Okay, so why does it weaken the mouth, and how to prevent that? Well, it really doesn't weaken the mouth. Again, I'm gonna have to touch on historical content, historical wordage. Okay, so it's not like I'm condoning dogfighting. It doesn't weaken the mouth. Historically speaking, it really what happened is the dog, if it does too much meal incorrectly, the dog learns to breathe through the mouth, okay, rather than learning to only breathe through its nose when it's tired. Okay, that's the key there. Breathe open mouth instead of through the nose. Okay, and that is a major reason why people call it weakening the mouth. It isn't actually making the mouth softer or less stronger. You know, it's going to stay the same, but because the dog, through long periods of time in the meal, learns to open its mouth and breathe through its mouth when it's tired. Okay, so now imagine that in a historical fight, and the dog, or hog catching, and the dog is tired and it's trying to hold on to the prey, hold on to the dog, but it's tired. What will it do? Because it's learned to open its mouth to get air, it's going to open its mouth, or it's going to not hold on to it as tightly as it would have if it knew how to breathe through its nose. So, how to prevent this from happening? When you're working on the mill, when you're working the dog on the mill, you start very slowly. What do I mean by that? Well, you first put it on the mill, and the moment you see the dog opening its mouth to breathe, you stop the process and leave it alone. Come back later on, maybe the same day, maybe another next day, and repeat it. In theory, and definitely, eventually, the dog will. It will take it will take the dog longer to open its mouth to breathe, because it's getting used to moving, getting the heart rate up, and the dog still breathing through its mouth. The dog. So what I'm telling you this is that the dog on the mill should not have the mouth open. Okay, if the dog has the mouth open, it's doing it wrong. And if you go back to some of my videos, I point that out. I point out that the point when I have one of my dogs on the mill, I point out that the dog is not doing it right, but I didn't say how. I just left it at that for you to ponder, for you to say, yeah, I know what it is, and that's that. The dog, especially Simon, he has a lot of energy, so I let him go free. I let him know there's no. I used to have like the resting period, but the dog needs just to burn some energy, so I let him run free without care. So he does run the mill, and you're going to see on his video, when he's on the videos, you're going to see him with his mouth open. Okay, but because I really don't care about him, because he's a cold dog, and he and doesn't really matter. But I do use them for some other. Sometimes I do use the program correctly when I'm trying to tweak my own conditioning program. I use him as my guinea pig. So anyway, going back to the mill. If you want your dog to do the best it can on the mill, you need to start very slowly. You need to find when the dog opens, it starts to breathe open mouth, and stop them, and then again repeat when the dog is back to normal, or like I said, another day. Okay, and that way eventually the dog will be able to breathe or run the meal longer without opening the mouth. Now, here's another twist to it. When the dog is breathing through its mouth, maybe 2 minutes, maybe 3 minutes, closed mouth, it's running the mill, you stop them. Why do you stop them and not let them go through? Well, you're trying to, this is another thing you're trying to do. You're trying to teach the body of the dog to assimilate lactic acid in the muscles better. The dog will, again, cramp up at the beginning, but through repetition of this sprint and pause, sprint and pause, sprint and pause. When I say pause, it will be take them down, out of the mill, walk them, maybe if it's 3 months running, 2 or 3 minutes running, 2 or 3 minutes walking outside in the mill, put them back, and that way the body will learn to absorb and dilute the lactic acid of the muscle quicker than when it's not, the dog is not being trained this way. Okay, so if you want the dog to recuperate faster, this is the way. This is the way to use the mill is to do short spurs of running at full speed, and then walking, and repeat with the mentality also of the mouth being closed. So eventually, the mouth being closed and doing 2-3 minute sets, you just increase the amount of sets. You know, you may want to increase the amount of minutes of sprint, but it's a game of checks and balances. You have to check and then balance out, okay? I can't give you a certainty because every dog is different. You have to observe your dog. That's number one thing. If you don't know what you're looking for, you don't know what to look for, then you won't be able to bring out the best out of your dog, okay? All right, so I'm going to put my daughter to sleep now. I'm glad she allowed me to have this little conversation with you guys. I hope you do enjoy the videos. Please do like, share, subscribe. I never say these things. I forget to say them, but you know, especially you guys, when you want English content, do have to, you know, I do appreciate the likes. And a big shout out to Brown Bulldog. I appreciate you making content. I will endorse your channel in another video that I will be making today or tomorrow. Big Bulldog. I respect your content. I enjoy it. Glad to get more content relating to these dogs, relating to the people behind these dogs, relating to the history of the dogs. We need more people like you that can just bring out their, just help us get more information from the people that were there. I appreciate you. You know, glad you're retired, because people that are active should not be doing that. But I'm glad you guys are well. And anyway, this is Tony Montana signing off until next video. Bye-bye.